Bhagavatam class, and I'm or share small realizations. And I'm really grateful for those senior devotees that are here. Hare Purusha Prabhu, Bhima Prabhu, all the others that may be here on this class. And Ananda Prabhu, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Hare, for your commitment, determination, enthusiasm, and the joy of sharing Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhu, every day. Thank you so much. So I'm going to try to pull this up and see what happens. Am I a host?
You're co-host now, so you should be able to share.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Let's see. Okay, is it here? Okay. Otherwise, I'm going to have to ask you, Ananda Prabhu, to share. Because I thought I pulled it up, but I don't think I did. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Mohurdayat Nastaprasya Bhadreshu Nityam Gurti Sevaya Bhagavatutam Ashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 87, and the text is 39. And yeah, it's one of those amazing texts that I think devotees meditate on throughout their whole Krishna conscious life. So it's one of those beautiful texts on renunciation, a favorite topic. So Prabhu, would you be willing to kindly pull up that verse for me?
We're working on it. Working on it, Vraj, Lila.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
It out from
Vraj, Lila, I believe we are seeing your screen. There's a tab open I can see for the database.
Click on the top left corner where it says Srimad Bhagavatam.
Top left.
Top left tab on the top.
Okay, sorry. Whew, going. Okay. I don't see that.
Right above.
Somehow oh yeah, my screen. Nope, that's not it either. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, it's not I'm not seeing share.
You were sharing, but we were seeing the Zoom site. So you can go back to share, go back to the browser, and then on the left top you had it open.
Okay. And the browser, where am I here? Nope, that's not it either. Sorry, here we go. My Bhagavatam. Okay. Are we okay now?
Yes, we see it now.
Okay, let me just get all this other stuff off then. And sorry. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna read the Sanskrit synonyms for this verse and then read the translation. Okay, so yadi, if nasamudharanti, they do not uproot. Yataha, persons in the renounced order of life. Ridi, in their hearts. Kama of material desires. Jata, the traces. Duradhigamaha, the impossible to be realized. Asatam, for the impure. Ridi, in the heart. Gataha, haven't entered. Asamrita, for kanta, on one's neck. Manihi, a jewel. Asu, their life heirs. Shripa, who gratify. Yoginam, for practitioners of yoga. Ubayataha, in both worlds. Api, even. Ashukam, unhappiness. Bhagavan, O personality of Godhead. anapagata, not gone away, antakat, from death, and nadhirudha, unobtained, parat, whose kingdom, bhavataha, from you. Translation, Srila Prabhupada's translation. Oh no, I'm sorry. The disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Translation, members of the renounced order who fail to uproot the last traces of material desire in their hearts remain impure, and thus you do not allow them to understand you. Although you are present within their hearts, for them, you are like a jewel worn around the neck of a man who has totally forgotten it is there. O Lord, those who practice yoga only for sense gratification must suffer both in this life and the next, from death, from death who will not release them. So they will suffer, death won't release them, and from you, whose kingdom they cannot reach. Srila Prabhupada's purport. A mere sure renunciation is not sufficient. No, it's not Prabhupada's purport. A mere sure renunciation is not sufficient to gain a person entrance into the kingdom of God. One must undergo a thorough change of heart, symptomized by a complete lack of interest in the self-destructive habits of sense gratification, both gross and subtle. Not only must the true sage refrain from even thinking of illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, but he must also give up his desire for reputation and position. Altogether, these demands add up to a formidable challenge, but the fruits of true renunciation in Krishna consciousness are well worth a lifetime of endeavor. The Mundaka Upanishad 3.2.2 confirms the statement of this verse. Kamanya kamayate manamanaha sa karmabhir chayate tatra. Even a thoughtful renunciant, if he maintains any worldly desires, will be forced by his karmic reactions to take birth again and again in various circumstances. Philosophers and yogis work hard to become free from birth and death, but because they are unwilling to surrender their proud independence, their meditations are devoid of devotion to the Supreme Lord, and thus they fall short of the perfection of renunciation, pure love of God. This pure love is the only goal of a sincere Vaishnava, and therefore he must vigilantly resist the natural temptations of profit, adoration, and distinction, and also the impulse to merge into an all-consuming impersonal oblivion. As Srila Rupa Goswami states in the Bhakti-Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11, Anya Bilasita Sunyam Gyana Karmad Navritam Anuke Kalena Krishna Silanam Bhakti Uttamam. When first-class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires. Knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy and fruitive action, the devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. For those who undergo religious yoga discipline only to please their senses, prolonged suffering is inevitable. Hunger, disease, the degeneration of old age, injury from accident, violence from others. These are a few of the limitless varieties of suffering one can experience to varying degrees in this world. And ultimately, death awaits, followed by painful punishment for sinful activities. Especially those who have freely indulged in sexual enjoyment at the cost of others' lives can expect punishment so severely, it is unimaginable. But the greatest pain of material existence is not misfortune in this life or being sent to hell after death. It is the emptiness of having forgotten one's eternal relationship with the personality of Godhead. Srila Sridhar Swami prays, and I won't do that Sanskrit. The hypocrite who cheats himself by a pretense of renunciation thinks only of sense enjoyment and thus suffers constantly. Bewildered day and night, he's overwhelmed by the exhausting endeavors he contrives for himself. The fool disobeys your laws and is corrupted by greed for respect from other fools. O protector of the fallen, O bestower of mercy, O supremely blissful master, please save that person, myself. Okay. Hari Hari, Haribol, their devotees. Om Ganati Mirandasya, Ganagana Shalakaya, Chakshur and Militam Yena, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sanyavadi Vastatya Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swamini Namine Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shitatmane Shri Gaura Karina Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Tinamine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Hare. So once again, dear devotees, thank you very much for having me here on this illustrious Sangha, the Bhakti Center, the Bhakti Temple, Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's one of the, well, it's definitely a place to come hear about Krishna every single day and hear from wonderful devotees, wonderful servants of the Lord. So this text, renunciation, so definitely we are not the person to speak about that, meaning me and Ekavir Prabhu, because this verse is clearly sharing with us what it means to be a renunciant. What's a renunciant? What's renunciation? What does real renunciation mean? So in this verse, it says members of the renounced order who fail. So those persons who fail to have Krishna as the center of everything that they do, those persons who are not fully dedicating all of their activities, their life, and all of the activities within their lives to Krishna. If they have any traces of material desires in their heart, then of course they're not pure. And so I repeated that to say, we're begging your mercy because certainly we're not pure, we're impure. And one of the things about the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada explains that Bhagavatam is meant for the Paramahamsas. It's meant for those souls, those great souls who have fully dedicated their lives to the service of the Lord. And so, yeah, we are endeavoring. When I say we, I mean me and my husband. We're endeavoring by the mercy of the spiritual master, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of the devotees, to give our life fully to the service of the Lord. As my spiritual master always used to say, and I believe this comes from Srila Prabhupada, give this one life to Krishna. Give this one life to Krishna. So we are making those endeavors. And one of the things about this verse that caught my attention is this theme of having to understand more about, who we are. Sridhar Swami, he's referencing in this verse, he's putting himself in the position of, he says, the hypocrite who cheats himself by the pretense of renunciation thinks only a sense of enjoyment and thus suffers constantly. Bewildered day and night, he's overwhelmed by exhausting endeavors for himself. So Sridhar Swami himself he's putting himself in this position. He's putting himself in this position of what this verse is sharing with us about renunciation and having traces of material desires in the heart. And so if Sridhar Swami, this very great devotee, this very surrendered devotee, surrendered soul, is saying this, then what is my position, right? What is my position? So I can only quote what I have heard from my spiritual master and from Srila Prabhupada. So this verse refers to this this jewel. In the verse Prabhupada mentions here that that ultimately, I'm sorry, I keep saying Prabhupada because I'm always thinking of Srila Prabhupada and Srimad Bhagavatam, but we know that these verses are from, I believe, Gopi Pranadhan Prabhu and others that assisted with this with this translation, with these translations. And so here, Prabhupada the devotees are helping us to think about what it means to give up anything at all. What does that mean? And the verse explains to us about this jewel that ultimately for us is Krishna. And one of the main jewels that is important for us as devotees is to remember, that Krishna, that because of him, although he's inconceivable, still we understand from the scriptures that everything comes from him, everything originates from him. And so therefore, I believe it's Srila Prabhupada that said, we really don't have anything to give up because ultimately everything belongs to Krishna. At the same time, though, as we're in these human bodies, in order for us to become pure servants of the Lord, dedicated servants of the Lord, in order for us to develop this pure love of the Lord, then as I believe it was Vraj Bihari Prabhu that was sharing about the modes of material nature. And so the modes of material nature are manifest in this material world so that we can move through these modes and ultimately understand our eternal position and understand who we really are. And so one of the verses that is important to constantly wear around our necks as a jewel that represents how to move through this world, how to move through the modes of material nature, is the verse from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in these amazing prayers of Lord Chaitanya, which is what I wanted to focus on a little bit today with this verse, because this verse can be approached from many different places. Of course, we know that the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita explains to us about true renunciation. It says the perfection of renunciation. So we can read Bhagavad Gita and learn what does it mean to be a perfected soul? What does it mean for a person that's endeavoring to love the Lord, that's endeavoring to give our life, give this one life to the Lord? By studying that 18th chapter, we will get all the details of how to do that, as Krishna is explaining to Arjuna. However, Lord Chaitanya, he explains to us that even to understand this 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, to understand this theme of renunciation, it's very important to wear this jewel, which is actually our connection with the Lord, around our necks. And that jewel is Trinara Pisa Nichena, Tarora Pisa Hishana, Amanina Manidena, Kirtanya Sudahari. So that jewel is to have a humble state of mind, a humble state of mind. I believe in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions, it is mentioned in the purport about prophet adoration and distinction, which is one of the causes of persons not being able to fully give this one life to Krishna, be fully renounced in their pursuit in our pursuits of trying to develop this love. this lack of humility. And this verse, I was thinking about it today because I recently had an opportunity, a few days ago, to speak with a sannyasi, a very dear sannyasi, to my husband and myself, and we had an opportunity to meet with him. And it was really wonderful. I was sharing this last night in our group, Wisdom of the Sages group, that as we were speaking, I was sharing some things about my own evolving in Krishna consciousness based on not having humility, based on my own false ego that travels, it seems, with us as we're endeavoring, at least with me, as I'm endeavoring to give this one life to Krishna. The false ego is right there, constantly traveling with me. And so I was sharing some of the symptoms of the false ego that I can see, that manifests within me. And it was quite interesting as I was sharing that, because the sannyasi was just like kind of laughing, because I think it was a little strange for him to hear someone just kind of speak about their different anarthas that they are aware of. And at the same time saying, yes, even though all these things are there, the sannyasi was saying, even though all these things are there, what's important is that you're endeavoring to love the Lord, right? You're endeavoring to love Krishna. And so this is a part of as Vraj Prabhu said, we're in the material world. It's definitely, we're entangled. Well, most people, at least most people that have no knowledge of Krishna, they're entangled in the modes of ignorance and passion. And at some point, people come to the mode of goodness. And then if they're very fortunate, like ourselves, we get an opportunity to hear from a devotee of the Lord. Or yes, in some ways we get connection through some devotee. My spiritual master always used to say that the devotees of the Lord are not ordinary. It's very important to be respectful and kind to all devotees, because they're not ordinary people, right? And we know that as we associate with devotees and we see their wonderful and beautiful qualities, we understand, no, devotees are not ordinary. And actually, my spiritual master used to say devotees are extraordinary, meaning that they have so many beautiful qualities in their lives, even though we might be struggling in many ways with this theme of renunciation. And so this prayer, Chinara Pisanichena, reminds us, about Krishna. When we, every day as we meditate on this mood of humility, then simultaneously within that mood will be the desire to understand more about the Lord, or to be more surrendered to the Lord, or more anxious to hear about the Lord, within that mood of one understanding that our only position in this world really is to develop this treasure jewel that Lord Chaitanya has given to us to remind us of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya also explains to us that in the next verse of the Shishastakam prayer, Nadanam Najanam Nasundarin, he says, "Oh, Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth after birth." And so this is the foundational verse for anyone that wants to be or think of themselves as a renunciant in this world. Anyone that wants to renounce the effects of the modes of material nature in this world. These verses of Lord Chaitanya, they are so key and they're so important. And there's such this jewel that who Krishna really is, the ultimate jewel. Of course, Lord Chaitanya, we know who he is. We know he's the Supreme Lord. So he himself is giving us this jewel around our necks every day. So when we read these verses and we hear it sounds, sometimes these verses sound a little bit intense. So, if persons don't follow, they go to, hell and all that's there. However, all that can be mitigated very easily by us assuming that position, that ultimate position of who we are as being servants of the Lord. Simply, we're servants, and that's in any tradition of religiosity, spirituality. Every tradition focuses on the development of that mood of being humble, of understanding that ultimately we're servants. We've been having some renovations done in our home, actually Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's home, where we live. And I had an accident recently where it seemed like I had broken a toe. So anyway, that's a whole story in itself. That I had gone to a program with His Holiness Radhanath Swami at Gauravani's home, and I walked without being aware as I was trying to get to a seat because it was so crowded. I walked into these children's toys, and my foot just kind of knocked all these toys, and so my toes got really hurt. And it kept going. So it was happening. The pain was there even after a week or so, maybe, over a week. It's been almost 2 weeks. So I went yesterday to the doctor, and our painter, someone that had been painting in our home, he's a Christian. And so he said to my husband, he said, I would like to pray for your wife before she goes to the doctor, because we were going to leave him in the house. And I was like, fine, sure, no worries, of course. And so he came upstairs he's painting actually the basement in the home here. And he came up and he held, our hands. And so he prayed, right? He prayed a beautiful Christian prayer for me and me going to the doctor. And it was quite interesting to hear. In his prayers, he was asking Lord Jesus to take away whatever it was that was happening with my foot, to heal it. And so I was thinking, oh, this is interesting, because as devotees, we learn this mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Of having no desire for anything, totally dependent on the Lord, whatever the Lord arranges. And we understand, yes, I was understanding, yes, I don't want to be in pain. At the same time, I could understand pain is there for a reason. Pain is there to help me to understand more, to really go deeper in my own, with that pain, in my own understanding of my relationship with the Lord, and actually just being more present with everything about my relationship with Krishna. And so it was wonderful to really be eclectic and engage in a prayer from a different tradition, and understanding that the mood behind the prayer, which is what is important, which is what I would like to emphasize, the mood behind the prayer of this Christian person who's a painter in our home, was that he was trying to serve. He wanted to serve me by his theology of calling on the Lord. So ultimately, all traditions have this focus, this theme of being servants of the Lord, developing this humility to be able to call on the Lord. I also remember I was in Africa many years ago. That was the first service that was given to me by my spiritual master, was to go to Africa. And we would distribute Srila Prabhupada's books in this one country. And we had a driver that would drive us from city to city to distribute books. And he was a Muslim. And he, Tahiro, now I still remember his name, even though it was many years ago. And he would chant, every day, 99 names of Allah. And he would stop. Well, I think it's 5 times a day we would have to stop so that he could pray. He could pray to the Lord. And so this Tahiro, this person, again, he was being a servant in that, his service, which was really as a driver, was to take us to Sri Prabhupada's books. At the same time, he had that understanding of being a servant, to calling on the holy names of Allah every single day. And even though he had a job, he was very conscientious. We have to stop. I'm sorry, this is my job, but it's important that I make these stops every day. And so we somehow would coordinate it, and we would be chanting Hare Krishna, and together we would, be in this van. And so the point is, everyone is a servant of the Lord, no matter what their theology may be, and or how they may be connected with their different theologies. And so this is what Lord Chaitanya is helping us to understand, that we're simply, this mood of renunciation is simply to be able to remember that we are to be servants. We are to give our lives in service to the Lord. And so there's a beautiful prayer, because one of the things that's important in renunciation and practicing renunciation is to connect with the spiritual practice of any aspect of, we know there are 9 processes that we can follow in terms of devotional service. And so any of those processes will assist us to develop this mood of love of God. Any of these processes will help us to develop this humility that is required to remember on a daily basis that we're simply servants of the Lord. However, one of those processes, Vandana prayer, is very much a part of our acharyas. They teach us about the importance of prayer. And one of those personalities that I and myself, and I'm sure many of you appreciate, are the prayers of Narottam Das Thakur. Because Narottam Das Thakur is this personality that just reading a verse from one of his prayers reminds us about the need, to develop this humility, this mood of dear Lord, please teach me how to love you. Dear Lord, I don't have any qualifications. I don't know how to love you. So I wanted to share one of these prayers from His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Swami, a modern day renunciant. I'm very grateful and fortunate to have been able to serve His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Maharaj for 27 years of my 40-something years of devotional service. And to be in service to him very directly, almost on, well, not every day, but just in those 27 years, certainly having his association quite a lot. And so that is the closest I can say that I've come to seeing what a renunciant may look like, what someone that's given their lives, to service of the Supreme Lord, that's giving everything that they do in order to love the Lord. And I saw that very vividly from the very first day that I met him until the day that he left his body. And so I wanted to share what I learned from him as a renunciant, as somebody that's endeavoring to love the Lord. And these, what I'm going to share is one of the prayers from one of his books, where he speaks about his chronic disease. And he in this mood of humility, he's saying to the Lord, I have a chronic disease. And so I'll share that, just a little bit of that prayer to, just to kind of address this mood of false prestige. Because in terms of profit, adoration, and distinction, it's inherently a part of us in terms of material conditioning. However, as we all know, the process of devotional service cleanses all material conditioning and awakens our heart and to understanding our ultimate relationship with the Lord. So he's praying in his, Bhaktitirtha Maharaj is praying to Lord Nityananda, and he's saying, I have a chronic disease. It is called envy, and it is very contagious. He says, people unknowingly look at me and think I'm a picture of good health. Little do they know how sick I really am and how dangerous my association with them could be. How is it that you have shown your mercy to others by placing them in complete ignorance or total transcendental bliss? With my limited knowledge, I desperately appeal to you, my dear Lord, and ask, why I'm so unfortunate? What must I do? So he's praying like this to Lord Nityananda. And he goes on to share some of the things that keep us kind of bounded in material life, in this material consciousness, and distracts us from this mood of humility. He continues in this one prayer. He says, I'm afraid of everything and everybody because I'm a fool, a first-class imbecile, pretending to be a scholar. I constantly look over my shoulders, wondering when someone will recognize the fool that I am and give me a big kick. You gave me intelligence. You gave intelligence to so many of your servants. But as for me, you have given me neither the intelligence to know you nor the intelligence to fully ignore you. So I desperately appeal to you, my dear Lord. Why am I so unfortunate? What must I do? So this is the mood that I had seen in my in my beginning years of service. This mood of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj crying out in this way, calling out in this way, living his life in this way, always praying to the Lord. He always would let us know, I have no qualification to be a renunciant, absolutely no qualification. However, this mood of humility is what I saw throughout my devotional life. And so I understand, I've come to understand the importance of this, of developing this mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this mood of Trinadapi, this mood of understanding that on our own, we can't really do anything. And all of you are seasoned, everyone on this call are seasoned devotees in that you study the scriptures. Many of you are here every single day to listen to the devotees share their realizations. And many of you know about renunciation. We understand about detachment, attachment. That's so much a part of the theme of bhakti. At the same time, it's very difficult for us to develop any of these things on our own without the mercy of the spiritual master, without that mood. What is that verse? That without that mood of dependence, without that mood of submission, without that mood of wanting to hear in a way that we truly want to make a difference, in a way that our hearts are affected. And this verse is speaking, Rupa Goswami is the person that's quoted in these verses, Shuddha Rupa Goswami, Anabilasita Sunyam, that one has to become free, devoid of all sense of false prestige. We have to become absolutely free from all of these things. And if we can't do it on our own, then how is it possible? How is it going to be possible? So, yeah, another prayer, and I'm just sharing this opportunity because recently I've been thinking a lot about Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, only because we recently celebrated his 20th Tirtha. He recently left, recently the date of him leaving his body was just a week ago, actually. And it was the 20th year of him leaving. So I was just astounded. Like it appeared like he left yesterday, right? Like it didn't seem like, oh my goodness, it's been 20 years. For me as a disciple anyway, it felt like that. But another prayer that he prays in the mood of these great acharyas, developing this mood of prayer. This meditation he shares with us, or this prayer he shares with us, give up your improper desires. Give up your improper desires. And he says, I'll just read a short part of this prayer. He says, people are impressed that you have built so many temples, and specifically many of those temples have been in Africa, and that you have founded so many spiritual communities. But actually, all of these activities was just attempts to increase your own empire. In truth, you have not even once honestly served the Supreme. You only used him and his empowered servants to serve your own idiosyncratic interests. How could you believe that the Lord would allow a soft core criminal like you to enter his abode simply so you could impart your abuse and exploitation in the spiritual kingdom? In everything you do, everything you look at, and everything you experience, you are secretly trying to twist the situation into a means for your own enjoyment. But you must give up these improper desires, for until the seed of these desires are destroyed, they will constantly take root and periodically surface, causing you all sorts of problems and stagnations. So that's a short prayer, part of that prayer that he made. And he wrote these prayers, he wrote them in 4 different books. And so that was the mood of renunciation that I found in my spiritual journey to be very important, to build, to try to develop this mood of, dear Lord, teach me how to love you. Dear Lord, teach me how to love you. And the only way that I know that the Lord will reciprocate, the jewel-like Lord will reciprocate with that, is to practice this verse of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shanada Pisunichina. So my prayer is today for all of you is to please help me and pray for all of us to develop this mood of humility. Without humility, it's impossible to appreciate the Lord's servants as ordinary. Without humility, Srimad Bhagavatam for the Paramahamsas is difficult to understand. Without humility, entering into the kingdom of the Lord is it's not, just that. It's not just the words we read from the scriptures. It's actually living that every single day. And that only comes from our humility. And so I wanted to ask everyone here, just as you share, there's a question that came up in our Wisdom of the Sages yesterday. And it says, what impurities, resentment, habits do you notice accumulating in your own consciousness? And how might spiritual practice help you remove them? So what spiritual practice is helping you, basically? So this is just something for you to meditate on for yourself, because ultimately we're products of this material energy in some ways, in many ways. However, it's definitely possible to move through all of the challenges of material life by taking shelter of the holy names and by really having a practice that we've really tuned into. For me, it's prayer. Thank you, my dear devotees. Nitagora Haribol. So I think I went a little bit more than a time. Nanda Prabhu?
Yeah, it's 8:01, but we can stay for the afterglow and share during the afterglow. Thank you, Vraj, Lila. Very nice class. Beautiful. Everything is covered.
Is she going to be here? Does she promise to be here?
Do you promise to be here, Vraj, Lila, for Bhima Prabhu? He sounds desperate.
How can I refuse? How can I not be a servant to Bhima Prabhu? Bhima Prabhu is given his one life to Krishna. Every single day he's here.
Every single life I give that life. I will be trying to give that life. There's many more to come. I know it for fact.
Hari Hari. Jai. Radhavinavan Chandra. And Radha Murlidhar. Radha Murlidhar Ki Jai. Right.
Bhagavatam samasitam burasudaram Kandarbhagodhitamaniya vishesha soma Andriyasya sakame Vihangi Yanti Anandachimaya sadhu Vigrahyasya vinna Adipurusha Mahamanami Govinda Adipurusha Adipurusha Mahamanami Amaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusha Namaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusha Govindam Adipurusha Shishirada Muralidhar Gaur Chandra Bhagavan Lila Prabhupada ki jai. The lotus feet of our spiritual master.
Master.
The way by which we can attain to the book. I bow down to
his lotus feet.
by the grace when he taught the church. And
Obtain the mercy of Krishna. Now the wishes have been much as his own. Attachments. With all desire. He opens my darkened eyes.
my Lord, earth after birth.
And instead
My
of
Lord,
is destroyed. They need scripture sing its character. The spiritual
yours the mercy. Friend of the poor and the Lord and Master of the
Lord
book.
of heavens and devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your famous brow of the Lord in 3 worlds. Take shelter of your lotus. Shall go back.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Janitai Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Afterglow. Thank you, Vraj Lila Devi, for staying overtime, for staying beyond time and space with us. We have Garanga Lila raising her hand, followed by Bhima Kaviraj.
Garanga Lila, Hari Bol.
Thank you for such a wonderful class. I wanted to share something that I was like making right now.
and it was like I have like a little reflection for the drawing I made.
Oh,
No,
wow.
wait,
Let's see.
I think I need 1 second.
Wow, it's exciting.
Oh no, I think I lost this. Where did it go? I think I lost words.
It'll come back.
Can you see
Lila,
me?
you're frozen. At least
I
for
know.
me.
Oh, I'm frozen? I
No,
don't
I
think
am
I don't.
frozen.
No, Garanga Lila, not Vraja Lila. There's two
Oh,
different
okay.
Lilas here. Going on
Yeah.
at the same
We're the
But there
time.
you go. There you go.
Lilas. We're the
Okay.
Lilas, Goranga.
There you go. Okay. So here's the drawing I made.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Wow.
So I was like, it's about like, I heard a story online, like some devotee told me about like a story about Lord Chaitanya and what is his name?
Can you show the drawing again, Garanga Lila?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
So
Yeah.
this.
That's nice.
Thank you.
That's talent. Someone has
That's
talent.
Yeah.
You're obligated to keep doing that, Garungalila. You do know
Yeah.
that, right? You're
Yeah.
obligated.
So this drawing, like, I got this idea for drawing this, like, from a story I heard from, like, I heard like a story about like Lord Chaitanya and what is and Gadadhar. So
good.
when Lord Chaitanya became sannyas, he used to, like he used to travel a lot, but he used to visit Gadadhar, who was serving, I think Gopinath, yeah, Gopinath deity, and he used to serve him every day, like make wonderful garlands. And so one day, before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would come to Gadadhar's place, he made like so the face paints for the Lord, and he thought like because he took the sannyas, since after sannyas you're not allowed to get like I don't know what, but like attached to things like I don't know if you're allowed to decorate or something, like you're not allowed to do something, like you have to be all simple, like free from all like I don't know how to explain that, but like yeah.
I get it. No creativity. Just the
Yeah,
Lord. Okay. Yeah.
simplicity. Yeah. So he thought like if I offered like since Lord Chaitanya would never like refuse like prasad, so why don't I offer it like to him as a prasad? So Lord Chaitanya came and he took the dasha and Radha tried to get, so he wanted to give the garland, but since Gopinath loves his love, he didn't want it, but he didn't want him to take the garland, but he had to let go because of the garland, because um is the garland, because like the deity, he didn't want to take the garland because God had made it with so much love and devotion that he didn't want it, but he had to give to him. So he got in touch with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he wanted to offer the Gopidas, the Kalin ones, because like he remembers the time when there's a story when Lord Chaitanya, they had like a play where Lord Chaitanya dressed up as Rukmini Devi. There was like
Yeah.
a story about that, so he thought like maybe he will like maybe he will try since it's Prashadam. He never like refused Prashadam or anything. So he tried to offer, but like and Chaitanya said that um he cannot like accept, like not accept it, but like he told the point of sannyas that as a sannyas, he's in the move of separation from who, like separation from Krishna, since like Radharani. So he's like in the mood of Srimati Radharani, the separation, and he told the story that when Krishna left, like the gopis, when he left the Vrindavan, they were like dying of separation. And it said that Radharani would not dress up because even when the manjaris would like offer her garlands, the garlands would become like wither, like would become not fresh, like wither. And whenever it like said, like who am I supposed to dress up if the person who I love is not here? Like, what's the point of like dressing up? Usually when you so like I understood like the service of dressing up for Krishna, for she did everything for Krishna, and now that Krishna is not here, like why should I? If Krishna is not here, for who am I supposed to dress up? He's not here. So this kind of like the mood, like the mood of renunciation, the renunciation, like Srimati Radharani had. Yeah.
Thank you, Guranga Lila. Beautifully explained the sentiment of
So like
Srimati Radharani.
So
But is there a question, Guranga Lila, you wanted to ask in this regard? In this very
He is
deep,
asking that
in this,
question. Can we
Such an amazing storyteller.
Yes.
Wow. Pastime teller. Goranga.
Yeah.
Was there a question or you wanted to share that pastime? You shared that pastime so beautifully.
Yeah,
And so many points you made me think when you spoke of Rukmini, I thought of Rukmini and the jewel that she wears. Yeah, thank you. And Radharani and separation, being in that mood of separation.
So basically, like, since you were talking about the renunciation, that's the same thing. Like, I felt like the story is kind of talks about the point of renunciation. It's basically like serving Krishna, but in a mood of Radharani. Basically, that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was trying to like tell us in the story about what's the point of renunciation. It's like basically it's basically renouncing everything, like getting like not being attached to anything but just to his dear Lord, like Krishna, and about serving him in this mood like Radharani had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The child.
Wow.
And the child shall lead the.
What?
The child shall teach us. That's right.
And the child shall lead us. Christ said, become like unto a child to enter the kingdom of heaven. And we have in Gauranga Lila, in no inappropriate way, discussing Bhav and Viparalamba, separation of Radharani, and that we accept it because it's coming from a pure source. A child, and not to say that you're a child. We're all children, young lady, but someone who is a child to us all. And it's wonderful because it touches the heart. And I think that the question she's asking is, can we return to that innocence of being fulfilled by Lila? Like just the thought, the mood of why even try? Krishna's not here. That's some wild stuff. Thank you very much, Gauranga Lila. I refuse to try to follow up after that. Let somebody else talk.
next time my wife tries to challenge me, why are you not shaved up? I'll tell her, who am I supposed to shave for? I'm experiencing deep separation from Krishna. I'm not gonna shave. It's a stupid joke.
Wow.
Vraj, back to you. Would you like to reflect on any of that?
Yeah, I just want to share Gauranga Lila's humility to be able to share the pastime. It's it takes courage, which is wrapped in humility, to just speak the Lord's pastime. She shared it so beautifully and so wonderfully. Thank you, Gauranga Lila. That mood of separation, Radharani.
Can I
renunciation. Yeah,
can I
I'm
add
so
on
inspired by you.
So like in the Krishna book, like I was reading, there's a picture about when Krishna returns back to to Vrindavan. And so like he asks the gopis, why don't you come to us? Why don't you come to my kingdom? You'll be happy. We'll be together and everything. So gopis actually refused, which actually made me like when I was reading that story about like when Krishna returned back to Vrindavan and he asked the gopis, like, if we're doing a separation, why don't you come with me? But the gopis refused. We would rather die of separation, rather like they were so renounced that we would rather just love you from far away than rather be together.
Yes.
And because like the smooth of separation is sweet also. So basically when you separate from someone, you're basically gonna think about him. Like how we do like acting pastimes like at the temple and everything? That's also the mood of separation, but you remind everybody how it happened by like making prashadam, like doing like service
Yes.
in the mood of separation.
Yes.
All of this is connected in the mood of separation, and this like Mathurya Bhav is really like why Prabhupada tells it's tells like it's the highest of all the reciprocation, is because in the mood separation you renounce everything only to love Krishna. That's it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, the gopis, they refuse to go to Dwarka. Yes, Gauranga Lila. And in order for us to have that mood of the gopis, for some people that are in the process, they need to take shelter of one of those processes very sincerely. And it sounds like you chant, it sounds like you hear. So you are taking such shelter. It is so beautiful.
She hears and she imagines. That's how she's able to draw. Yeah. She allows Krishna's Lila into her imagination. And that is something that perhaps the question that she actually is asking is, can we allow ourselves to imagine what, Vipralamba? Can we allow ourselves to imagine to be wrapped up in Krishna consciousness, or just the thought of Krishna? Can we allow ourselves to be wrapped up in in that contemplation to the point where you can actually manifest it out on paper? It's and also in stories. We should be creative for Krishna. We should be creative for Krishna. That's what I get out of everything that she said. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Hare. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Thank you, Gauranga Lila. Adipurusha Prabhu, would you like to add anything before we go off to our variety of services in separation?
We just thank you for this class. Very perfect expansion. The verse is about the high standard. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
What happened?
You tapped something on the phone, but we can hear you.
Yeah, the verse is about the high standard of devotional service and how there's this gross part and the subtle part to come to that standard. There's a gross sense gratification, and there's profit, adoration, and distinction, which is very subtle, but also keeping us from the goal. And how she mentioned, I'm just reflecting what Mataji said. She said that, the grace of the spiritual master, the guidance of the spiritual master, the inspiration and, empowerment by the guru helps us to learn and grow. We're here to learn and grow. And if we're not humble and willing to accept that instruction, Baisha Sheikh Abu says that thing, I'm here to be corrected. I'm a work in progress. Not that I've got it all together, but let me see how I can be better. Yeah, it's all there. She said everything. What can you say? All goes to Prabhupada Krishna.
She's not the Mataji. She's a Prabhujini. She's a Prabhujini.
Gauranga Lila, thank you. Thank you, Adipurusha Prabhu. I was thinking the Gauranga Lila, the pastimes that you shared, and what Bhima shared about our imagination, how to be in those pastimes if possible, throughout our day. And that can be a simple prayer. Dear Lord, please let me keep this imagination of you, of who you are, and just your pastimes in my consciousness. So just to be in prayer, that helps with our imagination, if you will, that word, to help us to just stay in that consciousness of remembering Krishna. Yeah,
I think everybody can testify, Mataji, especially yourself, having been a warrior, a Sankirtan warrior back in the day, that sometimes we can actually pray, Krishna, bring on the Lila in my purification. Like we start to realize that, we're out there, and especially if we've taken up a challenge, a service that is a challenge, but just getting to the temple in time and make enough garlands for the deities. I've actually seen, courageous acts of staying up all night because somebody didn't show up to do. So from that to fighting on behalf of Krishna, or going to court on behalf of Krishna, or painting paintings on behalf of Krishna, or writing stories on behalf of Krishna, or living a good life, a good, strong, prosperous life, so that you can be a bulwark of the temple service to Krishna. We find that during those services, Krishna brings on his little lessons, that he's actually engaged in play and battle with us. We're supposed to become. Can you expand on that, Mataji? We're obviously, or I can only speak for myself, so much to be purified, even of the envy that Bhakti Tirtha pretended to speak of, that he had. When you listen to that prayer, you say, yeah, man, me too, man. I'm envious. What about me? But that's not the right way to think. And so you pray that Krishna brings on his chariot, and he defeats you in this battle of wills. Could you briefly perhaps point us to a pastime or something that we can reflect upon?
Yeah, thank you, Bhima. I saw that Madan Gopal Prabhu on, and I deeply appreciate him and just his realizations about so many beautiful aspects of our philosophy and just living the philosophy. So Madan Gopal Prabhu, would you like to answer Bhima's question?
My obeisances. Yes, I didn't quite catch the essence of your question, Bhima Prabhu. I'm sorry. What is the rest of it? Because I was actually called that word.
Can we allow ourselves, like we remember Krishna's pastimes, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained even the simplest things of the demons that come into Vrindavan, and Krishna fights them, and what they mean for us individually in that iconic sense, in that paradigm of, I'm sorry, I'm using words I don't even know the meaning of, but paradigm of purification. We have to go through this purification, and that purification is Lila. is Lila, because you are actually battling Krishna when you're envious. You are battling against his will when you are duplicitous. I'm only speaking for myself. When you have a self-will, like you don't. I mentioned yesterday the dog that runs from his master, knowing full well he's doing wrong. Right, but he knows because he will return, and because he loves his master. He's always loved. He knows his master will always love him. So that all day long, not only do we remember Lila that is written, but we remember the import of that Lila within our own lives.
Yes. So the question is that Lila?
Yes, and can we?
When Bhima Prabhu runs off the leash, is that Lila?
Yeah.
He's gonna come back. Krishna has nothing to worry about.
There's a reason too.
Sure. I mean, see, there's only two kinds of activities in the world, or in all of existence. One is karma, and the other is Lila. How do you know which one is karma and which one is Lila? Karma is that activity that is done for selfish purposes while trying to forget Krishna. Lila are those activities that are done for selfless purposes to try to please Krishna. It's as simple as that. So anybody who's in the circle of devotees, this circle here, who's glorifying Krishna, glorifying the process, working towards purifying ourselves, learning from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's allegories, which are not merely allegories, they're parallels from the actual, physical Leelas that happened. They actually happened. So all that endeavor falls in the circle of Leela because we're walking toward Krishna. So everybody's moving, walking. But when we walk toward Krishna, that's Leela. And we turn away our backs to him and walk away from him, that's karma. As simple as that. So yes, your endeavors, all of our endeavors, as we try to uplift ourselves, uplift each other, certainly Leela. That's why Gauranga Leela is there. When Prabhupada came here and purified us, that's Prabhupada Leela, Prabhupada Leelamrita. Those of us who are touched by Prabhupada's words and endeavor to follow in the footsteps, that is also an extension of Prabhupada's Leela. Just as Prabhupada's activities are extension of Gauranga's Leela, and Gauranga's activities are extension of the Gopis' Leelas and the Vraja Leela. And so it all comes back down to Vraja Leela. So I want to thank Vraja Leela Mataji for giving us such wonderful, that's the root of all Leelas, the most intimate. And you've been our, role model for so many decades, Vraj Leela Mataji. Appreciate it. You may not know, Vraj Leela Mataji met my grandfather in Africa, Mr. Rao, when he was in Zambia, I believe. So she recalls that. So we go back a long way. Thank you, Vraj Leela
Mataji. Thank you, Madan Gopal Prabhu. Yes, Madan Gopal has a history of being a wonderful devotee. His whole family of devotees supportive in Africa for those preachers that came through. Thank you so much. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to close with this last part of the verse that says, although you're present within their hearts, for them you're like a jewel worn around the neck of a man who has totally forgotten it is there. So Madan Gopal explains so beautifully. Those who've forgotten the jewel is there, and then there are those who remember. And the only way we can remember the jewel is to wear it around our necks. Janadapi, Sunichena, Nitagora. Thank you, Madan. Thank you for being such a wonderful example for us. And thank you for supporting the mission even before you were born. Hari Hari.
And thank you for your answer.
Haribol, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Right. Have a wonderful day in imagination about your activities with Krishna today. And remember to be humble.
Thank you. Beautiful. Gauranga Leela, can you recite the Maha Mantra, please?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga Leela, you got to give class. You got to give class. You got to get her on the class schedule.
Okay.
Not know how to give class.
Haribol, Hare Krishna.